So, day 3, vectors part 2. So, one day of matrices, all with calculator. Yesterday was vectors, pretty easy stuff though. Today there's, I guess, 2 extra formulas to do. Dot product and angles. So let's talk about dot product first. We have u dot v. So there's some multiplication going on. You multiply the x's, so x1 times x2. You multiply the y's, and then add them together. So that's kind of a weird multiplication. Like, wait a minute, there's 2 multiplyings and 1 adding, because to multiply vectors, so let's say u equals 3i plus 4j, and v equals -2, 1. Even crisscross the formats of the vectors there, but it doesn't matter. IJ, commas, whatever. That's not really an issue. So u dot v is multiply the x pieces. I'm not even going to rewrite them. Like, if it really bugs you, you could rewrite this one as IJ or rewrite that one as an ordered pair. But most of you are probably fine. Just pick off the x pieces. So 3 times -2 plus 4 times 1. So -6 plus 4 is -2. So the dot product of u and v would be -2. Multiply the x's, multiply the y's, add them together. And we talked a little bit yesterday about vectors versus scalars. This is a scalar. It's not a vector. It's just one number. So there's the dot product. Roman numeral 2 is the angle between 2 vectors. Cosine of the angle equals the dot product. So there's why we have to know the dot product, because it's useful in determining the angle, over the products of the lengths. Right? Remember, the 2 double bars means lengths, so length of u times length of v. I don't imagine most people prefer words to symbols and equations, but for those that are more, I guess, verbally inclined, dot product over product of the lengths. Right, so I mean, that says the same thing. It's just, I guess some people don't like all the symbols. They'd rather read the words, but it's the same thing. Dot product over product of the lengths. Now, be careful. That tells you what the cosine is. If you need to undo that, or when you need to undo that, how do you go backwards to figure out what the angle is? Inverse cosine. So this will be an inverse cosine day, for sure. And then we'll ask parallel or perpendicular type questions. Perpendicular if, I bet you know this one, geometry experts, the vectors are perpendicular if their angle is 90. The next one's maybe a little bit weirder. They're parallel if the angle between them is 0 is one of the answers. 180. I guess 360 would be right, but 360 would be the same as 0. 180 is the other answer. So the angle between those is 0. The angle between, or 180, between those is 180. So that's easy stuff. The parallel, perpendicular, neither. It's just find the angle and then answer the question. All right, so let's find the angle between U, which is 5,3, and V, which is negative 2I plus 6J. And again, I'm intentionally mixing up the formats just to make sure we're comfortable with both, and to hopefully show that it doesn't really matter. Like, you're fine either way here. Okay, so this is a multi-step deal. Okay, so this is a place where you're going to have to show some work. All right, don't try to just jam it all in the calculator and tell me that the angle is 37 or whatever it is. Like, take the time to kind of show some work. So I know I'm going to need to find the dot product. So that would be 5 times negative 2 plus 3 times 6. So negative 10 plus 18 is 8. I've got to kind of build the pieces. I should have boxed this. This is hugely important here. So I got to find the pieces, and then I'll use that equation. So got the dot product. Now I need the length of U and the length of V. So length of U. Remember, it's the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. 25 plus 9 is 34. So there's my length of U. And I need length of V. Square root of negative 2 squared plus 6 squared. 4 plus 36 is 40. Oh, by the way, 40 would reduce or simplify, but we're eventually going to the calculator anyway to get an angle, so like I wouldn't even bother, right? Why risk messing it up when you don't need it reduced anyway? So if you're looking at that thinking, wait a minute, isn't that 2 square root of 10? Yes, but it doesn't matter because it's going to go into this formula. Cosine theta equals dot product over product of the lengths. So we grab a calculator, and I guess this you could just put it all in there, inverse cosine of all that. I would go with the fraction bar to be careful with parentheses and square roots and making sure everything's in the right spot. So 8 over square root 34 times square root 40. Oh, and I really want my answer in degrees. I don't want radians, so change your mode to degrees. .471. There is a bit of a check on these. It's kind of a visual check to see if it works. It involves graphing them. So if I did 5,3, so there's vector U. Vector V is negative 2, 6. Now if you're going to do the graphing method, you better graph reasonably accurate, but the angle between them, again, I can't tell by looking what it is, but it looks like it's a little bit less than 90, so 77 seems reasonable. You don't have to do that, but some of you guys like to check and make sure your answers are making sense, and graphing them is one way to see if it makes sense. Questions? All right, why don't you try one? I mean, that's all we're doing today is those two things. So let's let you try this one. Find the angle between vector u is negative 3i plus j, and vector v is 5, 2. Again, intentionally, like I would probably never see them, the formats crisscross like that, other than I'm trying to just mess with you and make sure you're okay with both. So I'm going to press pause. See if you can find the angle between them. And again, this bugs some of you, but you need to start getting used to, in math, I mean, you know this, like the further we go, the more work you got to show. Like you can't just, we're past what's 6 times 4 and write your answer down. Like there's work to be done here. So show each of the pieces and then go to the calculator and see what you get. So you find the dot product, you find the two lengths, and again, please show all this work. Don't just jump to an answer and just trying to keep track of everything in your head. Like show the steps. For one, it'll help you keep track of things, and for two, it'll help me give you partial credit if I can find that you made a dumb mistake in calculating one of the links or whatever. That's like 2 points off. Everything else looks right. If all you do is show me a wrong answer, then I don't know what went wrong. I'm just going to mark it all wrong. So show some steps. Use the calculator. Formula not given. Today's assignment's worksheet 4, and the test is Friday. Test is not super long. It's 1 page front and back, so there's plenty of time. Part of that is we know it's a calculator heavy test, so we don't want you rushed while you're punching buttons and messing with matrices and editing, and that takes a little while, so try to account for that with the length of test on Friday. I think the only thing you need to know that's not given, or the only formula that you need to know, is that cosine formula that we just looked at. Dot product over product of lengths. But it's simple enough that if you'll do worksheet 4, it'll kind of get stuck in your memory by default.